This time on the Adventures of Tarka, I take Tarka out of the water to begin a long list of projects, we party with the locals, and I make a short trip home to give Tarka's voyage a renewed purpose. Tarka and I are now safe from hurricanes here in Grenada, and I'm sure glad we came here because it would turn out to be the most devastating hurricane season on record, but we'll come back to that. But Grenada is also the perfect place to haul out and address some regular maintenance concerns, as well as make a few upgrades. So, after a few weeks on the hook, and after indulging in some fun, I gathered up my helpful friends and we brought Tarka to the slipway where she was delicately scooped out of the water. Honestly, it was a bit strange to see Tarka out of the water, as this was the first time I have seen her this way. She was in the water when I bought her, so this was all new to me. And after all those sailing first of mine, I'm sure glad I didn't end up making a mistake that could have left me like this poor boat. After a quick spray down, she was placed snugly between other larger boats, most of which were free of their owners, who had returned home for the hurricane season. Living on a boat out of the water isn't a lot of fun. It's hot, there's no airflow, and there are mosquitoes everywhere. Needless to say, the quicker I could get back on the water, the better. Fortunately though, there were some distractions around in the form of Carnival, and I quickly used this as an excuse to avoid some of my projects. Carnival celebrations in Grenada are a week-long affair, but one of the main events is a street party called Juvet. I joined Mike, Megan, and Michelle, along with a few other friends, and we arrived downtown at 3 in the morning.
But it's just gonna be freaking darkness. But I'll have proof that we were awake.
We were clearly too sober for what we were about to get ourselves into. Juvet is a celebration of the people, rather than the establishment, and it has its roots in the emancipation from French colonialists. It starts at night to contrast the brighter daytime celebrations, and this is also why participants cover themselves in motor oil and paint. Honestly, I can't say I completely understand all the symbolism associated with Juvet. We went in clean, but we sure didn't come out that way. We had quite a lot of fun participating in the local celebration. But we also spent most of that morning searching for each other lost amongst a crowd. At the end of it all, we couldn't help but wonder how the city handles the cleanup after the fact, especially all that oil. Juvet was my last hurrah in Grenada before getting on a plane and heading back to the US for just a few weeks. This would be the first, and probably the last time I leave Tarka on this entire voyage. So this was an important flight home for me. Strangely, adjusting to life back in the US wasn't very easy. I had spent 4 months sailing, seeing amazing places, facing difficult challenges, living with minimal resources, and being self-reliant for almost all of my needs. but for most people, not much changes in 4 months. Needless to say, it took a little while for me to figure out again how to reconnect with people. But I was happy to see the familiar faces again. And I even got to step in a different ocean for a change, although it was a much colder ocean than I was used to. I also got to see a total solar eclipse, which is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But I also had some work to do back home, and I took this time to give purpose to Tarka's voyage. A big part of the reason I decided to sail now, rather than wait and save more for a bigger boat, is because, honestly, I wasn't sure the coral reefs would still be around by then. So, I decided to launch a fundraiser for the Coral Reef Alliance. And my hope is to raise $1 for every mile I sail. After spending time with friends and family, and getting the work done that I needed to get done, I was ready to return to Tarka. But Mother Nature had other plans. As I watched helplessly in the middle of the night, the island that I had first begun my voyage on was devastated by the strongest Atlantic hurricane on record. This, and Jose on its tail, precipitated a 2-week-long delay in my return flight. Now, this is, of course, why I sailed south. But I didn't need the vindication. And sadly, anything caught in the paths of these hurricanes was completely wrecked, and I have friends who lost their newly opened boat bar despite being in a hurricane hole, but there's really no hiding from a storm of that magnitude. Eventually, though, I did make it back to Tarka, and I began to work on my long list of projects. Tarka needs new bottom paint, new top paint, a new cutlass bearing, new rigging, a new masthead light, extra batteries, more solar power, a fridge that works, a life raft, new windows, and a whole host of smaller projects. But the first job is to get the bottom ready for new paint. And let me tell you, this was no fun. It wasn't completely lonely in the boatyard, and I made 2 very loyal friends. I also made some human friends. Like Don here, who I don't think I've ever caught not smiling, and he was always very warm and welcoming. Don was also always willing to help out if I needed it, and I think this is one of my favorite things about being a part of this community. Still, living on a boat out of the water while tearing it apart inside and out isn't much fun. So lucky for me, Mike and Megan let me stay aboard Tanagra for a few weeks. And so I rowed my dinghy each morning to shore to work on the boat. I have extra incentive to finish my projects quickly, as I have a friend visiting soon, and we hope to do some sailing in the Grenadines. But there's a lot to get done, so I better get to it.